Nostalgia is a liar. It's a warm, golden filter we place over the past, smoothing out the rough edges and muting the discordant sounds. I learned this truth in the dust-choked attic of my childhood home, a place I hadn't entered in nearly 20 years. Among the cobwebbed boxes and forgotten furniture, I found it, a small, unassuming photo album. The cover was faded cardboard, the binding held together by yellowed tape. Inside was my life in glossy, 4x6 snapshots. And inside was the thing that would unmake me. The photograph that broke my world was from my 7th birthday. It was the centerpiece of the album. There I was, a gap-toothed kid with a paper crown askew on his head, beaming behind a cake blazing with 7 candles. My parents were on either side, their faces a perfect picture of pride. Friends and family surrounded us, a tableau of 1980s fashion and genuine joy. It was, by all accounts, a perfect memory. I noticed it only as I was about to turn the page, a dark smudge in the background just behind the garden hedge. A flaw in the film, I assumed, a piece of dust on the lens. I smiled, closed the album, and took the lie of nostalgia downstairs with me. The lie began to unravel 2 days later. I was showing the album to my wife, recounting the names of forgotten cousins when we came to my birthday photo. "What's that in the back?" she asked, pointing a perfectly manicured nail at the hedge. "Just a film artifact," I said dismissively, but I looked closer. It wasn't just a smudge anymore. It had a shape, vaguely humanoid, tall and thin, standing just beyond the manicured green of the hedge. A neighbor, maybe? Someone from the next yard over, caught in the shot? I felt a prickle of unease. I didn't remember the neighbors being that tall, or that still. That night I couldn't sleep. The image of that tall, thin shape burned behind my eyelids. Against my better judgment, I went back to the album. I opened it to the page, my heart thumping a nervous rhythm against my ribs. The figure was clearer now. There was no doubt. It was a man. He was wearing a dark suit that didn't fit the sunny suburban setting. His face was still a blur of grainy film, but he was no longer facing sideways. He was turned, angled slightly toward the camera. Toward us. Toward me. A cold dread, slick and oily, coated my insides. This was impossible. Photographs don't change. They are static, captured moments, dead, and fixed in time. I snapped the album shut, my breath catching in my throat. The next morning, convinced I was losing my mind, I took a high-resolution photo of the picture with my phone, zooming in on the background. The digital image confirmed my terror. The man in the suit was there, and his face, while still indistinct, had the barest suggestion of a feature, a pale sliver where a smile might be. The obsession took root. I couldn't stop looking. Every few hours I'd pull out the album, a ritual of self-torture, and every time he was different. He was closer. First, he was at the edge of the hedge. The next time, he was standing on our side of it, on the lawn. His features sharpened with each viewing. The pale, blurry oval of his face resolved into stark details. Slick, dark hair, eyes like burnt holes in paper, and a smile. God, the smile. It was too wide for the face that held it, a grotesque, predatory curve that held no joy. It was the smile of something that knows a terrible secret. I tried to stop it. I tore the photo from the album, planning to burn it. But as my fingers trembled, I noticed something else. A photo from a family barbecue later that same year. In the far background, behind a plume of smoke from the grill, was a tall, thin man in a dark suit. I frantically flipped through the album. Christmas, 1989. There he was, a faint reflection in a glass ornament on the tree. A trip to the beach, 1990. There he was, a stick-like figure standing at the distant water line, where the waves met the sand. He wasn't just in the birthday photo. He was colonizing my past, a silent, smiling plague creeping through the pages of my life. He was an uninvited guest at every happy memory, poisoning them with his presence. He had always been there, and I was only just now seeing him. Or he was never there, and he was inserting himself, rewriting my history one glance at a time. I didn't know which was worse. For a week I didn't look. I buried the album in the attic under a pile of old blankets, a pathetic attempt to blind the monster. But the not knowing was worse than the knowing. Tonight I couldn't take it anymore. My wife was asleep. The house was silent save for its old groaning bones. With shaking hands I retrieved the album and brought it to the kitchen table, the single overhead light casting a sterile glare on the page. I opened it to my 7th birthday. He wasn't in the background anymore. He was in the group, standing right behind my father, his long, pale hands resting on his shoulders. The smile was a razor-thin gash across his face, sharp and clear and impossibly wide. His black eyes stared directly out of the photo, into me. I felt a scream die in my throat, a choked, pathetic sound. My family in the photo, frozen in their decades-old joy, were oblivious. They couldn't see the monster standing among them. My eyes darted around the photo, trying to ground myself, trying to find my own small, gap-toothed face. I searched for the boy in the paper crown, the boy who was the center of this perfect, stolen moment. I wasn't there. The space behind the cake, where I should have been, was now occupied, and in my place, holding the knife to cut my own birthday cake, was the man. He was smiling.